Now let's turn our attention to cybersecurity. What do you need to know in 2021 all about cybersecurity? Let's bring in our pros, Alex Hamerstone, GRC practice lead, trusted SEC, and Peter Tran, Chief Information Security Officer at Inversight. Thank you both for being with us. So Peter, I'll start with you. Cybersecurity is so very important. I know we have some names to watch, but what are your thoughts on the group?
I think that first I'll start off with general trend in cybersecurity. So particularly as we move from legacy third platform IT infrastructures to what the fourth platform is, which cloud, mobile, social, IoT, smart living, smart cities, companies particularly like a Crowdstrike or any company in particular that needs to stay competitive needs to start to bridge that gap and have transformation around how they're going to address multi-cloud, native cloud environments and platforms as a service and software as a service, which is a shift from on-prem data centers to hybrid cloud environments, and those applications that are be served up, whether you're brick and mortar or click and mortar, that's going to be imperative from a monitoring and early detection, and also being able to find bad things, detect for it, but also do something about it. So generally, that's the trend, and to be competitive, we want to really see that.
Alex, why don't you expand on this? Because it's a very crowded field, and investors will want to look at certain names, but it's probably the right time for cybersecurity, right? Everybody's working from home, and a lot of devices that probably don't have the right protection.
So absolutely, Peter has some great points, and I would agree with those. But also, if you look at just the size of the market, it's just everything seems to be moving online more and more. I mean, everything's connected now, right? I mean, your car, your dishwasher, your stove, your refrigerator. And more information is also being shared online. And so the market and the space, it just continues to grow exponentially, as well as all these threats. I mean, you just need to turn on the news or open a newspaper, to see how much risk there is out there. And so companies that are able to help organizations mitigate these threats and really lower their risk have the potential to do really well. It's a crowded market. There's some really big names out there and a lot of smaller upstarts that are coming out with new technology. But there's also a lot of space. I mean, there's a lot of room for all these organizations because really everybody needs these services.
Tell me, Peter, what you think about Crowd, because you said it's certainly adapted, and names like Crowd and Coupa are in a unique position. Peter, tell me more about those two names.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of what Crowdstrike has done. Even back when it was a point solution only, EDR, endpoint detection and response, they've done a phenomenal job in transforming and addressing multi-cloud environments, both from a software as a service, so they have a managed detection and response service for their customers, also from an endpoint, and looking at beyond the perimeter and beyond the network, they're looking at cloud solutions. They're integrating well with Azure, AWS, mobility, and looking beyond that. So they had the first mover advantage of really trying to take that risk, really, to just be more than a point solution provider, because the risk there, what happens is in a crowded space, you have point solution after point solution, and enterprises are trying to adopt that and then adding more and more and more. And what happens is you have tech debt. And you can't just unwind these technologies, especially in security. So a lot of companies start to get in trouble by buying too much technology. And with Falcon, which is the core platform of CrowdStrike, they've managed to focus and keep the customers focused on Falcon. It's early genesis around endpoint, and then expanding that beyond and covering cloud.
Yeah, and you make a good point there, Peter. I mean, each company brings something different to the table. I mean, we could say tech or cybersecurity, but Alex, I know you look at these companies closely. Are there some that stand out more to you than others? And Crowd and Coupa are two that are reporting today.
So they absolutely, do stand out. One of the things that is obviously there's a couple of things that can really drive these companies forward. One is just having great technology. The other is, of course, marketing and being able to kind of be at the tip of everyone's tongue. And so these larger companies that you think of, nobody at a large organization is ever going to necessarily have problems if you bring in, a certain vendor that's well known and well respected, which can create a challenge sometimes for some of these smaller companies that don't necessarily have that advantage. But really, if you look at CrowdStrike too, it has other services. So they do threat intelligence and they have response services and other things. And I think that's certainly something that's important, for these companies to really provide multiple things. Number one, so if there is a change in technology or another technology comes out that maybe does something a little bit different, and as an advantage, you still have other services you're able to provide, and really are in these companies, helping them with more than one thing. So they're really thinking of you as a true cybersecurity solution, and not just for one, element of the whole program.
Peter, quickly, just is there a name that we didn't talk about that you like a lot? I'm out of time, Peter, but just is there one that I may have missed?
Well, yeah, I mean, given Coupa, so in that vein, when companies have a product line and they start to look at security built in the zero trust model, a name is Carbon Black, right? A direct competitor of Crowdstrike, but they're integrating it with VMware, right? The acquisition of Carbon Black into VMware really is a very good thing to watch.
Peter Tran and Inversight, thank you. Alex Hamerstone, Trusted Sec, thank you both very, very much.